the hunt. I am reminded of the countless stories threaded through generations, story of service, resilience, suffering, above all, survival. Let us take a moment to reflect on the history that has shaped our identities, but also the very fabric of our societies in which we live. When we hear the word service, it might conjure images of helping others, of care and community. But for people of color, especially those of African descent, service has another meaning, one that is intimately intertwined with both pain and pride. Service for us has roots that run deep, stretching back through centuries of forced labor, enslavement, and unpaid toil. Yet, it also includes moments of voluntary contribution, of intentional care for our families, our communities, and ourselves. Let us remember service was not always a choice for our ancestors, whether on the plantations, in fields, kitchens, railroads. The labor of black people was demanded, extracted, and exploited, and as it is still today. But even as work was coerced, our ancestors found ways to infuse it with dignity, to create meaning and value where others sought to strip it away. Today, many descendants continue to occupy roles in service industries, often still underappreciated for their labor and humanity. This is no accident of history, but a legacy we must understand in order to change. The importance of Black history, why we must study and reclaim our story. There are those who ask, why should we study African and Black history? Why revisit these difficult chapters? To that I say, because our history is not just a record of suffering. It is a testament to survival, innovation, and the capacity to find light even in the darkest times. Our history is not merely the past, it is a guide for the present, beacon for the future. When we study our history, we learn the full measure of our ancestors' humanity. We see not only the chains, but the courage, not only the struggle, but the strategies of survival. We are reminded that the world has often tried to tell our story for us, and in doing so has distorted our image, diminished our achievements, and denied our agency. But we have the power and the responsibility to reclaim our narrative, to rewrite our history with truth, pride, and intention. Our ancestors have always found a way to survive. When the world was built, walls, they found doors. In the era of enslavement, some sought refuge in places others feared. The forest and the swamp. These were not just places of hiding, but of transformation. The forest became a classroom, the swamp a sanctuary. Here, our ancestors learned to become invisible to those who hunted them and visible to the opportunity of freedom. The swamp, the forest symbolize more than physical survival. They represent the wisdom to adapt, the patience to wait for the right moment, the courage to move when the time was right, and the knowledge to identify which berries would nourish and which would poison. It was in these wild places, often misunderstood and maligned, that our people discovered what it means to truly be free. They built maroon communities, places where new cultures, languages, and leaders emerged in the midst of adversity. They created life anew. Knowledge as freedom, preparation, patience, and the power of survival skills. What carried our ancestors through the darkness was not just strength, but knowledge. Survival was never a matter of luck. It was a matter of preparation, knowing how to read the land, when to move and when to rest, which roots to eat and which to avoid. These were not arbitrary skills. They were lessons learned, practiced, and passed on from generation to generation. And so I ask, what knowledge do we need to survive and thrive today? Are we prepared for the challenges we face? Do we recognize the value of patience, observation, and preparation? Or are we rushing headlong into decisions without truly understanding our environment? The lessons of the forest and the swamp are as relevant now as when they were then. Freedom is won by those who prepare for it, who know themselves, their history, and their world. The impact of miseducation, how narratives shape self-belief and community. One of the most profound losses we have suffered is the loss of our own story. For too long, others have written our history, sometimes erasing, sometimes distorting, but always with the motive to undermine our sense of self. This miseducation is not just about the facts, it is about faith in ourselves, in our potential, in our right to exist and excel. The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson is a good read and could tell you more. When we are taught that our ancestors contributed nothing to labor, we begin to believe that we were only laborers. When our survival is reduced to a footnote, we lose sight of the extraordinary creativity, intelligence that kept us alive. Miseducation robs us not only of knowledge, but of confidence, ambition, and hope. To reclaim our place in history, we must reclaim our education. We must seek out the stories that were hidden, celebrate the heroes who are unsung, teach our children that they're heirs to a legacy of brilliance and resilience. It is time to reclaim our narrative. No one else can tell our story as we can. We must write our own books, produce our own films, teach our own children, and celebrate our own sheroes and heroes. But especially we must teach our own children. We must honor not only the pain, but also the passion, not only the struggle, but also the strength. In doing so, we build a foundation upon which future generations can stand. We create a mirror in which they can see their own beauty, intelligence, and possibility. Remind the world and ourselves that we are more than what was done to us. We are what we do, create, and dream. So I urge you, in whatever sphere you move, however quietly or boldly you walk, to seek knowledge, learn not only the history written in textbooks, but the stories whispered in families, sung in songs, and lived in daily lives, acts of resilience, and prepare yourself as our ancestors did for the journey ahead. Build skills, not just for survival, but for leadership and liberation. Let us reclaim the skills that were lost, reinvent the traditions that were suppressed, reimagine what it means to be free. Self-determination begins with knowing who you are, where you come from, and what you are capable of achieving. So, in closing, remember the story of service in our community is not just a tale of what was imposed. It is a testament to what has been overcome. It is a narrative of transformation, of turning hardship into hope, into legacy, and survival of self-determination. Let us honor our ancestors by knowing them, by learning their wisdom and carrying their lessons forward. Let us reclaim the narrative, write our own history, teach it with pride. In doing so, we prepare not only ourselves, but the generations to come, and prepare ourselves for what is to come. In doing so, we prepare not only ourselves, but the generations to come for a future that is rooted in truth, nourished by knowledge, and guided by the unbreakable spirit of our people.